Let's see the steps to fill up the salary schedule for the old tax regime in ITR-4. However, viewers, please note that ITR-4 can be filed to fill the salary income only if, in addition to the salary income, the taxpayer also has a business income. That is, in addition to having a salary income, it should also have a business income. Only then it will be allowed to file ITR-4. In case it does not have a business income, then it is required to choose either ITR-1 or ITR-2. Now let's see the checklist of the details required to fill the salary schedule in the old tax regime. The first one is the gross salary received during the financial year 24-25, which is 7 lakhs. Rent paid during the financial year 24-25, and that's 1,44,000. House rent allowance received during the financial year 24-25, 1,26,000. Proficient tax deducted from salary during the financial year 24-25, 1,800. Basic salary details received during the financial year 24-25. For this, you will have to refer the salary slips of the employee. This might not be available in Form 60. Rupees 2,75,000. And then DNS allowance received during the financial year 24-25. This again would be available only in the salary slips of the employee. This is rupees 1,05,000. Now viewers, please note the rent paid, the house rent allowance, the P-tax deduction, and the bifurcation of the salary into basic salary and DNS allowance is relevant only in case of old tax regime, because these deductions are only available in the old tax regime. These deductions will not be permitted in the new tax regime. Hence, this becomes a part of our checklist in the old tax regime. Now, let's open the income tax return filing utility. Viewers, please note, I'll be using the income tax return offline utility to file the return. However, you can also use the online utility. That is, you can fill the details online as well instead of using the offline utility. But since it is more convenient for me to use an offline utility, I would be using that. And I have already downloaded it on my laptop. In case you don't know how to do it, we have a separate video for that. Do remember to have a look at that as well. The link to that video is mentioned in the comment section. So let me move to the income tax return filing offline utility, which is on my desktop already. Here it is. I will click. Click on File Return and choose either of the three options to pre-fill data. Once you pre-fill the data, you arrive at this page. And the first thing to do after arriving at this page is filling Part A of the General Schedule, which contains the personal information of the taxpayer, such as name, contact details, bank account details, and other relevant details. One important detail here includes choosing to opt for the old tax regime or the new tax regime. So let's get into this schedule. Under the filing section, you will see a question right at the bottom. Here it is. Have you exercised option of opting out of the new tax regime in the assessment year 2024-25? That is, did you opt out of the new tax regime last year? No. And the second question is, do you wish to opt out of the new tax regime for the current assessment year? That is, do you wish to opt for the old tax regime for the current year? The answer is yes. And since we click on yes, we need to file a separate form for that, Form 10IEA. The Form 10IEA has to be filed before the filing of income tax return, and the details of such form have to be mentioned in this return. For the time being, I am putting hypothetical details, just so that we can proceed with filling the relevant schedule. Now let's confirm. The next thing to do is fill the gross total income schedule. Under the gross total income schedule, click on income from salaries. As per the checklist, what is the gross salary? The gross salary is rupees 7 lakhs. Next is HRA details. Before that, let's fill up the professional tax details, which is 1800. We fill it here. In Roman 4, clause C. And then we fill up the exemption details for house rent allowance. The exemption details are to be filled here. Under this, add another and look for 1013A option. Here it is. Now let's see what does it have to say. Please fill the schedule 1013A to claim HRA. Here it is. Let's move downwards a little bit. Click on this. Viewers, please note, this is an additional requirement from this year. That is, these additional details will be required from the taxpayer in case he wants to claim an exemption in the HRA allowance segment. That is, in case it wants to claim HRA exemption, it will have to put in these additional details. And this has been applicable from the current year's return. So make sure you keep these details handy before you start filling up the income tax return. Let's quickly fill this up. Place of work, is it a metro city or not? In our case, it hasn't been mentioned. Let's assume it's a metro city. The actual HRA received is 1,26,000. The actual rent paid is 1,44,000. The basic salary is 2,75,000. And the DNS allowance is 1,05,000. Next is 50% or 40% of salary. This means 50% of basic salary if it's a metro city. And in case it's a non-metro city, it would be 40% of the basic salary. Since we have selected metro city, we would do 50% of basic salary, which comes to 1,37,500. And this eligible exemption has been auto-calculated. Now, we click on Save and then click on Confirm. So here it is. So this is how we fill up the salary schedule for old tax regime in ITR-4.